Hello. Today we are going to be doing law number 9 in the Enter the Mandela project. And it is the law of relativity. So dear God and guiding spirits, angels of light and love, guide me on my path to my highest good. Help me to better understand the law of relativity. I will be starting with my spirit calling cards and then going into these guided visual journeys that my guides provide me. They're like little mini movies that I basically will describe, and from there I'll get the symbolism that I'll take to create the mandala. So just to start, the introduction of the law of relativity is that nothing in life has meaning except for the meaning that we give it. Again, this is a really good. I love this one. This is one of the things I've been working with for years, and it's been really helpful. Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that we give it. Basically, we can't judge anything as good or bad because it's all relative to other things. Our situation is always better than other people's situation if we compare it. It's always worse than other people's situation if we compare it. And so it depends. If you focus on how bad the situation is, or then you end up attracting more bad, or if you focus on the good of a situation, then you end up attracting more good. And the introduction on the internet, I've been taking these just to find the 12 names for these mandalas on a list on the internet because I didn't know all the names. The way they describe it is that that we each receive a series of tests or problems in our life just to strengthen the light within ourselves. And it's kind of like an initiation, and we must consider these to be a challenge and remain connected to our hearts when trying to solve these problems. And of course, this has been perfect reading this after a few things that happened this week, and I actually was blogging about challenges and the gifts from them earlier. So here we go. I'm going to start with the Spirit Calling card reading. I'm shuffling my cards and asking to understand the law of relativity. I'll be picking 5 cards with the left hand of the subconscious, making a sentence with them that will start off the reading. It's kind of a warm-up and also a way for the guides to give me words, not just images. 3, 4, 5. The cards I picked were relax, attract, gratitude, clarity, path. Relax in gratitude and attract a clear path. It seems pretty obvious to me this time. It just fits. So relax into gratitude, which is something I've been doing a lot this week. And as you relax into gratitude, you will attract a clearer path. Clear of problems, clear of challenges, clear of, I don't want to say wrong perspectives or wrong perceptions, but clear of all the obstacles that we put on our path. I'm getting that reminder that often I'm the one that stands in my own way. And by relaxing into gratitude, I will attract a much clearer path, a much more soothing, easeful, graceful reality for myself. And that fits with what I was saying before. So the law of relativity is all about comparing, is that nothing has meaning until we compare it to something else. There's no light until you compare it to dark. There's no cold until you compare it to warm. There's no good day until you compare it to bad day. All right. I'm waiting for the visions to start. They're a little slower today than usual. I'm ready to begin. I'm seeing a family at dinner time. They're all focused on their own meal. They're not talking. But on the table behind them, there's a pile of game boards. Okay, so it's not a silence in terms of they have nothing to say, or that's just their culture. Is that they're getting through dinner quickly so that they can get to games night. Yeah, if I look into their eyes, they're looking at each other with this glee, this sparkle, this anticipation. Dinner's done, the dishes are being cleared. They're going into the games board, and there's a bit of a tug of war in terms of the kids trying to decide which game they're going to play. This one's more fun. This one lasts longer. We won't have to go to bed as early. So they're doing that comparison business, but and they've decided to let the dog pick. Interesting. So they've put them all in a row, and they've called over the dog, and it comes and lies down on one game. And that's it. The vision has melted, and the dog has we're going deep into ground here. It's sort of fallen through. The dog and one of the children, no, a couple of the children are now walking in the forest. They come upon a family of blue jays, and they're also pecking and whatever, are sort of arguing about which game they're going to play. They all look at each other and laugh. And then the blue jays join the dog and the children. They start walking down. And then there's a family of rabbits. They're actually wearing little coats and everything. They're reminding me of some stories that we used to read when we were children. I forget the names of them. But they're doing the tug of war, but with carrots. That one's better than this one. This one's bigger than that one. I want that one. That kind of thing. So there's a lot of bickering, but, not in an angry way. And they all laugh. And they join the blue jays and the dog and the children. And they keep moving down the forest. Snakes. All right, we're at a snake hole. And with the rattles at the back, the snakes are pulling in opposite directions. They're pulling a book. Oh, interesting. So they're pulling a book back and forth, and it's which book they're going to read. They're wearing glasses, these snakes, and they both want to read the same book, but that one's better than this one. So there's a lot of comparing and bickering and challenges around choice. They let go of the book, they laugh, and they join the group. This is truly fairy tale-like. The group starts walking towards a castle. Not a Walt Disney style looking castle as I've seen in another Vision for a group before, but very low to the ground, bulky, more like a fortress. Yeah, more like a fortress. Dark stone, low to the ground, bulky type of construction. They enter through the big wooden door with the iron decorations on it. It's the only decorative part of the entire castle. Everything else is very blah, cold. And they go in and sit at this table. They're all sitting in a row. It's a long, narrow table facing one direction. So they're not sitting around the table. They're all on one side, just kind of like if they were in court. Yeah, there's that feeling of being in court. So they're all there, all the animals, the children. I think there's a judge at the front. I'm seeing a movie screen in the front. But in front of the movie screen, there is a judge. Oh, yes. Okay, so he's not in the movie. He's sitting there and he's talking to them. He's very much sort of pacing and lecturing and waving the finger type of thing in terms of lecturing. Not judging, but lecturing. He's explaining. And on the movie screen appears a scene. It's basically a well in a garden. And he's paused the movie and he's asking everybody to talk to their partner, just like I do when I teach class. So tell them what you see. They had to write it down on a piece of paper. They're all holding up their paper at the same time. And everybody on the paper wrote something different. So this is all about perspective. Is that the same thing on the same screen can mean 10 different things to 10 different people. So that brings back again that nothing has meaning except the meaning that you give it. For example, the snake, they were words, but now as I look at the paper, they're little stories. I'm seeing flashbacks. So one of the snakes, actually it's both of the snakes, accidentally fell down the well, but he ended up in the bucket, and the other snake had to, pull and pull and pull to try to get his mate or his buddy, I'm not sure, back. So for them it was a challenging, it was a negative thing. For the child it was I'm just seeing play and a lot of exertion. They were doing sports and they were thirsty, and so the well was there and they were so happy to have the water, and it was kind of romantic and, fun. And the dog was part of that, running around and getting, on a very, very hot day, the children sprinkling him with water from the well, and he loved it. He got to drink right out of the bucket. For the rabbits, I'm seeing construction machinery. I'm seeing that they were displaced from their home. They had to run away. They lost one of the babies. They couldn't get him out in time. So for them it was a very negative. So the well itself has no meaning except the associations and perspectives that these different animals had for it. Now it's feeling sort of like a tour guide type of situation. The judge is asking them to follow, and they're all going through to another room. There's a giant chessboard in this room. And they're like big, I'd say, almost half the size of me, so like 3-foot pieces. And they're all the traditional, I see the horse, I'm not a chess player, but I can see the king, the queen, and the pawns, all that. They're not solid though. They're sort of like formless mush. Not mush. Imagine sort of rubbery sort of in movement, half alive type of shapes, but I can see what they are. Anyway, so there's that chessboard in there. But yeah, they are alive. They're sort of peeking at the audience, trying to see. And the audience isn't even speaking or anything, but the pieces are reading their minds, and they're moving at this point really quickly based on the consensus. And they're all being piled one on top of the other so that they end up in the middle as one tall tower, one on top of the other, all the pieces. So it wasn't, certainly not a normal chess game here. And once it gets to the very top, they all crumble down and fall. But they start laughing. Okay, I'll try to interpret that later. I have no idea what that was about. They're being shown to another room. They're in the kitchen. And you've got the whole castle staff, working hard at the kitchen. Like if they were going to do a banquet for like 200 people, there's a lot of action in this kitchen. Knives being tossed around and juggled and chop, 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 chop things. The knives are chopping carrots on their own. The cooks in that are juggling the utensils, but they're doing the work on their own. Oh, except that in the pile of ingredients, there's also a few prisoners. And so they're about to be chopped up and put into the feast, roasted like pigs on a skewer. They don't seem to be worried about it, though. Nope. Okay, we're approaching them and the judge is asking questions. I'm not hearing words. I'm getting a sense that they're just saying it is what it is. It's not good or bad. It just is. No judgment. My left brain wants to kick in here and start interpreting and start judging, but it's like, okay, no, just report what I'm seeing. All right. They're moving off from the kitchen. Yeah, the child is probably me looking back, sort of like, huh? I don't get it. This isn't right. And there's a bit of a the child has a bit of a trepidation, like a fairy tale, sort of, what did I get myself into? Will I ever leave here? He looks into his pocket. He's got breadcrumbs. Here in Newfoundland, bread in your pocket will protect you from the fairies. But also Hansel and Gretel leaving breadcrumbs to find their way back. Okay, so he's a little behind the rest of the group that's gone forward, and he's lost. He's lost the group. He doesn't know which hallway they went down. The child is a bit of a sense of panic. Sits down cross-legged, goes into meditation pose. Smart child, relaxes, thinks clearly, and just whistles. And his dog comes and gets him and brings him back. Huh, nice. Okay. So he was able to think clearly through relaxing, not judge it as good or bad. They're in an underground swimming pool. Like, this is like it has been sort of a dark, dungy sort of, fortress. But this swimming pool area is completely filled with sunlight. How it's happening underground, I'm not sure, but maybe we're not underground. Anyways, the swimming pool, it's an indoor swimming pool, but filled with sunlight. And the pool is filled with toys, from water polo balls, I haven't seen one of those in years, to inflatable rings, that and all sorts of things. There's even this sort of S-shape scoopy thing that the snake can go in and just relax. It's like a snake bed. And so they're being given a break, and the buffet is being brought to them. So it's kind of play and recreate and eat, except that they're all sort of hesitant. Well, not all. The snake doesn't mind what he's eating. But, hesitant about the buffet is like, oh, are those prisoners there? So the child is going mostly for the fruit and vegetables and staying away from the meat. Oh, interesting. Meat has no meaning except the meaning you give it. Sorry, I'm jumping into interpretation all right away, but so that's the sense I'm getting from the child is, he's judging it as bad. He's judging it as evil or something, whereas the rabbit doesn't even pay attention to the meat because he wouldn't eat meat anyways, and the snake just goes right into it. And so they're all sort of approaching this buffet in a very different way. They're all giving it different meaning, and they're all approaching it. They're comparing it to what they usually eat. Like the rabbits are just, they're having a party. They've never had it all prepared as a salad, that kind of thing. And there's a swinging chandelier, and on that chandelier is a new character. I want to say Peter Pan again. He keeps showing up in these visions, and it's not a story I was extremely familiar with, but basically I'm getting that playful glee sort of feeling, that naughty sort of mischievous playfulness. And the judge is wagging his finger and getting him to come down, and he's just flying around and dropping. What is he dropping? They look like little red rockets. They're firecrackers, but they're not going off. The little boy of the group, sees them and gets all excited and starts collecting them all over the floor and follows Peter Pan. They're going through a whole bunch of tunnels and they end up outside, and somehow the rest of the crowd followed. And they're back outside they're in the courtyard, so there's still that stone wall around them. And that these rockets are now somehow they've grown in size. So they're big enough for each of these creatures to strap themselves on. And the little boy lights that little string at the back, and these rockets all take off over the wall and back into the forest, where they're just basically greeting each other, saying goodbye, going their own ways, going into their own homes. I see them all in different scenes, but at the same time going into their beds of different sizes and shapes and places, some in the tree trunks, some in the ground, some in the house. The dog is in the bed with the little boy, and they're making eye contact, sort of like, only we know what we've been through today. The rest of the family is still playing board games in the other room. Mom comes to check, opens the door, and sees her child still in bed with the dog. She has no idea what happened. And one of the other children runs in, kind of like, you have no idea what kind of fun we had tonight playing games. And the boy just smiles. The dog smiles too. That whole idea of comparing. The end. All right, that's the end of the vision. Well, we'll see what kind, yet again, we'll see what kind of mandala comes out of that. Okay, I will stop the recording now, but my brain is thinking, how am I going to do that? But that's how I do it every time. I'm never sure where it's going to go. The painting process is an intuitive one. It starts in the middle or starts somewhere, and then it grows from there. Thank you. Hope you've enjoyed this little story.